are ready to start the NCREA Fall 2022 Conference. This is after the apocalypse, except it just advance. I am Candace Ellis. I am your president-elect for the next year, or as I like to say in my classes, I will be your cruise director. I will be your cruise director. So I just want to make sure everybody can see the screen, correct? I love it. I love it. I love it. And everybody is ready to learn something today. Open minds, open hearts. Well, then I want to respect our time. We're going to get started right now. And helps if I'm off. There we go. So first, I do want to start with some acknowledgments. And are there any North Carolina Real Estate Commission members? Not staff, but members. Do we have any members in here? I see we have Miss Sandra O'Connor. Hello, ma'am. How are you doing today?
I am doing great, and I'm happy to be here.
Oh, well, thank you for being here. Thank you. Thank you. Any other members? Wait, Cindy. I know I saw Cindy, yes?
I saw Cindy.
I'm here.
Oh, you were just going to be quiet for that one, huh?
Well, no, it's just that I raised my hand, but everybody's got their hand raised. So it doesn't
You all can go ahead.
Lowering them. There you
Yes,
go.
you all
Lower
can go
them.
ahead and lower them. So we have Cindy and Sandra. Any other commission members that I want to acknowledge, because you all are all amazing. All right. And along those lines, do we have any North Carolina Real Estate Commission staff here with us today? If you are staff, go ahead, raise your hand just so people can see you. I know there's a number of you. I want to say thank you for everything that you all do. I'm excited to work with you all this year. This is going to be an amazing year. I'm going to make it amazing, even if I have to just push us through. It's going to be amazing. I love it. All right. And last but not least, and just I want to say a huge thank you to all of the NCREA board members, which I want to make sure that we introduce themselves. So if you are a board member, raise your hand. And if you all will just say hello, let us know your name. And we just want to say thank you.
And if you're about to be sworn in as a board member, if I may, it's probably good of you to raise your hand and introduce yourself as well.
Well, Jim, why don't you start?
Oh, I was going to go last. Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Jim Fletmeyer. I am your outgoing president, current president until, about another 3 hours of NCREA, and looking forward to the conference, as well as handing the staff off to the lovely lady Candace. I am very much looking forward to supporting her over the next year, and it's good to see everybody. Also, I took off my sport coat because my fingers were going numb.
All right. Well, we're glad your fingers are not going numb anymore. And Leslie, how about you?
Good morning, everyone. I am Leslie, and I'm one of the board directors as well.
All right. Steve?
Hi, I'm Steve. I'm a Pisces. I like long walks in hurricane rain. This is my last one. Thank you all for having me.
Now, I know I'm missing some other members here. Where are my incoming board members? And isn't
That
John
would be
here today?
Matt Davies and Seth Chauncey, guys.
Yep.
In case they
And
forgot.
John?
Yeah, I'm here.
John is here too.
Hi, that's
right.
it. That's my introduction.
Okay, no, I'll take it. I just wanted to make sure that I acknowledge everybody this fine morning. Now, speaking of acknowledgments, I do, even though we'll have messages from all of them, I want to thank our sponsors for this year's fall conference. We've got Learn Test Pass. We've got Performance Programs Company, Proctor Free, and Trav Talk. So if you all could just give them a virtual hand, just give them a just on your camera. You don't have to raise your hand, but I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for sponsoring us. We really appreciate it. All right. So moving on along unless somebody's got a question. For some of you, this is your first conference, and maybe you're getting to know NCREA and what we are all about. So I wanted to just read our mission to everybody, just as a reminder. At NCREA, we strive to lead in the innovations for our industry and the skills development for our members. We do this through member networking, laws, and North Carolina Real Estate Commission rule updates and classroom skill techniques training, all with an eye towards providing the best possible training for both pre and post licensing students and ultimately the consuming public. So that is our goal here at NCREA, to enhance you, the instructors, no matter what type of class you are teaching. And the goal today is, of course, to learn something and for some of us, get IDW credit. So thank you again for showing up and being part of such an amazing group. So without further ado, I want to introduce our first speaker. Some of you all may have heard her speak before, and if you have, consider yourself lucky. She is one of my favorite people to listen to and to learn from. And I have to say a personal thank you to her just for everything she's done for me over time. But today, our first presentation is coming from the one and the only and the amazing person who I happen to share a birthday with, Miss Jo Mangum, or I should say Mrs.
We
Jo
are
Mangum.
birthday buddies. We are. We're
birthday
birthday buddies.
Yay!
We share the same birthday. As I'm looking through here and I'm looking at all the trash talk going on, I'm thinking to myself, wow, I miss y'all. I really do. And I see so many familiar faces. And I would really love to start off with asking y'all a question. To please go into the chat and tell me, what do you most like about teaching? That's the first thing I want to know. And fill her up for me on the chat. Tell me what you most like. The helping others, light bulb moments. I love those too, right? Satisfaction when they get it. The people, the ahas, making a difference. Oh, look at this, being a resource, being a door opener. These are such good answers. Interaction, relationships. Yeah, there are lifelong relationships as a teacher, aren't there? Interacting. Yeah, I was so worried that y'all would not chat with me. Wow. So, seeing, making the difference. So we have themes going on here. Our themes are that we get to make differences in people's lives, that we get to help people have aha moments, that we get them to understand difficult ideas. So now let me ask you the opposite of this. What is your least favorite thing about teaching?
Miss Jo, as they're writing that down, I'm going to stop sharing and give you control of the screen.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Cricket's cell phone, Zoom. Yeah, me too, Zoom. Trying to make students care, the controversy, the administration, lack of engagement, apathy, compliance, technology. I hear Tom complain all the time about the agent on the screen that just does not get it. And you can talk about that, getting them engaged, all of those things. Yeah, I agree with all of those. And I see the themes coming around over and over. So, you know, we have all of these things happening out there going on with us. We've been going to Zoom, all the changes that have happened with all of us. But change is one of the constants that happens over and over. And as Candace said, my name is Jo Mangum, and I wanted to share with you first, my very first real estate picture. That was 1993. I had no intention of being a real estate agent. Honestly, I fell in love with a real estate instructor. And when we came home from our honeymoon, I could not bear the idea that he was going to night class. And so I followed him I followed him to night class. And before you know it, I became a real estate agent. By the way, some of y'all might know him. And his name is Tom Mankel, in case you did not know that. And 29 years of being in the real estate industry, that is a really long time. And I have seen so many things happen. Here are some of the highlights. When I joined real estate, we were hovering around that 10% interest rate. 1996, I was certainly reminded of this today, Hurricane Fran. And if you were here in Raleigh, you know that real estate became a big struggle with Hurricane Fran. In 2001, we had a recession that was around September 11th. And then, of course, we had the Great Recession. And then we had the COVID recession. And then we had the COVID surge. And now here we are at changes. And with each one of these, can we all agree that fear hits all of us? Can everybody agree that that is what happens when changes start? Is that fear starts. And when fear hits us and when fear hits real estate agents, one of three things happen. Some of the agents panic, some of the agents get paralyzed, and some of the agents power up. We have seen that many times over all the years. But also in change is something called opportunities. Opportunities for people like us, the people who have the heart of a teacher, the people who real estate have their claws into us, and it's not going to let us go. That's who we are. When I asked y'all about what you liked, I kept seeing all those things of, I love helping people. I love getting people's professions going. I love those things. And that's what we do. We show up when they need us. And right now, with all the changes happening, there are lots of opportunities for us to stand up and shine. Now, this is what we're going to talk about. So we're going to be talking about what's changing in the real estate industry. Now, we're not going to talk about it from what the markets are doing, but we're going to look at it from the feelings of the agent. And then we're also going to talk about it from the opportunities for you as a teacher, as a trainer, and/or as a coach. So when I go and look at the chat, I'm feeling terribly old. Thank you very much. Because many of y'all are telling me how old you were when I started real estate. Thank you. I appreciate that. That was really great. Y'all were 1. Some of you were -2. Yeah, that was really good. So before we start, what are your questions before we start diving into this topic? And Vanessa says, I wasn't even thought of. Thanks. Appreciate that. I'm feeling so terribly old all of a sudden. Yeah, 1986, Bruce Wayne, thank you very much. 18%, which, Bruce, that means that you and I kind of chuckle at the 5%, don't we?
Absolutely.
We do, we chuckle. My very first interest rate was 11.9%, and I kissed the ground in gratitude that I got that.
I did the same, but mine was 18.
Oh, wow.
My first one.
Yeah. Wow. All right, so let's start looking at real estate agents and where some of our opportunities are. So this is a high-level view of the number of real estate agents in the National Association of Realtors over 4 decades. And so what do you notice? Anybody, anything that you notice about this graph?
Climbs and it falls, and then it climbs and it falls, and then it climbs.
It climbs and it falls, and it climbs and it falls. That's right. Just like every market, that's exactly what it does. And it's still going on as I see the chats coming in. Yep. Right. We're at the highest now. That's right. We're at We're at 1.582 million realtors right now. That's what we are. At our highest in 2006, we were at 1.36 million realtors. And notice what happened around that 2012 area. We went to under a million, and I will never forget the headlines that day. Under a million realtors is things that you saw as the headlines. And let me just say, by the way, they are not anticipating that happening again with the changes coming. So let me just go ahead and remove any fear or panic that you're thinking about right now, because they are not anticipating that. But what does happen is when the market gets good, we have what? A flood of real estate agents coming in. And no one better knows that than you, right? Because y'all have had the flood of real estate agents coming in pre-licensing and post-licensing and CE. So that's the great advantage for you. What's the disadvantage of this many agents hitting the market all at once? What's the disadvantage of that? Lower quality. Neil, thank you so much. When it's easy, when the market is hot, it becomes easier to buy and sell houses. And that means skills of real estate agents go down. They lack experience, they lack education, they make a lot more mistakes. All of those things happen with the rise. And inexperience and Zoom education has made it difficult, to retain info. That's exactly right. Some people don't do well on this medium of Zoom. It is different to be here and doing it than it is to be in a room where you can sniff and smell. It's just a difference. You can feel energy in a room. You have the opportunity to read people's faces. You know when they've got it, and you know when they don't. So even though I just said there's not anticipated to be that great decline of realtors, they are already seeing, however, changes in what they call the foot traffic index. And the foot traffic index is a decline in the number of agents that have access to lot boxes. They are seeing a 2% decline each month for the last 4 months. They're not seeing a change in the number of realtors, but they are seeing a change in the ones accessing. So as I look at the chat, I see too many new realtors, too many part-timers, absolutely. And Travis says the biggest disconnect between the BIC and the licensee. There is a massive disconnect because we've had virtual offices for all intents and purposes, and it does sever them from a lot of informal education. Many of you remember, when I was the agent who went to the office every single day, I was there by 8:30. And the informal education of standing by the copying machine when an agent came through and started talking about a problem they are having, that was priceless. Spencer says regarding foot traffic, does that mean fewer showings? It does. It also means fewer showings, but it also means less competition for agents. So that is the other thing going on, less competition for agents. Lose engagement, lose motivation, the large offices, right? The really large offices. I had an agent the other day call me and wanted to ask me a question, wanted to just bounce something off of me. And she said that she called the broker in charge and she said, I'm having an issue. And the broker in charge said, yeah, I'm not sure they're in my office. I'm going to need to look that up. I was like, you are kidding me. She said, nope, I am not kidding you. So with all of these things, less competition, higher interest rates. We have less transactions happening. With all of these things going on, what help is the agent going to need? What help is the agent going to need? That's my question. Oh, and by the way, how will you show up? That may feel like a ridiculous question. First off, the chat is coming in with, they're going to need education. They're going to need emotional support. Totally agree with that. They're going to need sustainability. Absolutely. They're going to need mentoring. Absolutely. Adult beverage. Spencer, you're my guy. Yes, adult beverages. Yeah, no question. In education, thank you, Terry. Education is a really broad category. When I put this question on this slide, how will you show up? I got reminded of the early 90s when buyer agency first came up. And many of you remember that. And we were supposed to ask everybody who made an appointment how they were going to show it, meaning were they going to be a buyer's agent, a seller's agent? Y'all remember that when we had to ask them how they were going to show it? And I remember asking somebody, now, how are you going to show that? And yeah, Jim, it was in 1994, I think, when buyer agency came in. And I remember somebody saying, with my truck. And I remember going, okay, that was great. And I kind of felt like that when I wrote this. And what I mean is, are you showing up as a teacher? Are you going to show up as a trainer? Or are you going to show up as a coach? And the reason I'm asking that question is over the last few decades, education as a broad category has become very nuanced. And there are delineators between teachers and trainers and coaches and what their functions are. And so because of that, I wanted to spend some time talking about each one of those, because I'm going to challenge you to start thinking about which one you want to show up as in any particular situation. All right, looking back down, I see that, just checking my chat, I have, Travis says they doing it legally and doing it successfully. Great turn of the phrase, Travis. For too long, they've internalized the rules and simply they skirt around the possibilities in the doing. Absolutely. Doing it the right way, but still being a salesperson, right? That idea of doing both of those. So let's dig in a little bit on this teacher, trainer, coach. Now, this is what I call the role index. And on the left side, on the vertical, we're going to answer the who are you in this role, what the focus is in this role, what the objective is of this role, and what the desired result of this role is. And we're going to need to talk about it as a teacher, as a trainer, and as a coach. And as Cindy says, we need to be them all, and we do. And we need to understand which one we need to be in that moment. Because an agent can call you and ask you a question, and I'm going to challenge you to go, which one do I need to be right now? So let's talk about each one of them and talk about the differences in each one. And we're going to start with teacher. Many of you live in this role because many of you are teaching pre-licensing or post-licensing. And so you live in the teacher role. So who are you? Well, as a teacher, you're an educator and you are transferring knowledge. I'm sorry, I just had another student enter my room. His computer shut down.
Tell Amber that
Amber, Tom's computer just shut down, so he's here, okay? So as a teacher, you're an educator and your job is to transfer knowledge. You have the knowledge and you're transferring it to them. So in the end, it's about your knowledge going to them. And that may sound like a kind of a ridiculous point, but that will make sense in just a moment. Your objective is to provide them new information that they didn't know before. And your desired result is that knowledge is acquired, that they learn. That's your desired result. Constructing knowledge, says Dr. Sam. I love that. Constructing knowledge. Because many of you, your job here is for them to do what? At the end of the day, what do you want them to be able to do? Anybody? Pass. Thank you. Pass a test. Retain it long enough to pass a test. And we really hope that they keep it. They keep it. You know, when you see people say, what am I? Oh, stay out of real estate jail. Love that, Cindy. Absolutely. Stay out of jail. And I tell you, every once in a while, you'll see somebody go, another day went by where I didn't use algebra. And I always think to myself, another day went by where I did not need to know meets and bounds. I really didn't. I didn't. so I understand that thought process. But you're right. We want them to retain and we want them to learn. Now let's contrast that with a trainer. A trainer is there for skill development. What is the difference between learning and skill development? Anybody want to take that on? What? I need to kick him out behind me. What's the difference between skill development and education? Applying what you learn. Facts versus practical knowledge. Application. Absolutely. That's great. Action. Love that. Role playing, application of it, the performance of the skill, the building of the skill, and at the end, performance. So let's use this as an example. Let's use this as a compare and contrast. Agency. Agency is something y'all are very familiar with. It's something that you likely teach on a very regular basis. As a teacher, your job is to provide them the information around agency, for them to understand agency. Trainer, what is their job with agency? Oh, we've had some trash talking going on again. What's their job with agency? To actually use it. Yeah, to be able to thoughtfully have a conversation and inform the public on what their options are. That is what performance is with agency. So do you clearly see? Teacher is about transition of knowledge or transfer of knowledge for them to learn, where training is about performance. All right, to understand and interact with the public. Terrific. Successful relationships. I love that. That's great, Cheryl. That's right. You're building relationships by being able to effectively talk about agency and inform agency. Now let's contrast that with a coach. Because a coach is quite different. And coaching is one of those words that, you know, it's a nouveau word. I mean, people use coach, I'm a coach, I'm a coach, I'm a coach. And sometimes they're saying I'm a teacher, and sometimes they're saying I'm a trainer, and sometimes they're saying I'm a mentor, and sometimes, right? And on and on. But at its purest, a coach is a partner. A coach is an advocate. It's not about what the coach knows. It's about helping the agent find their way, find their answers. It's not telling them. And as a matter of fact, in coaching, when you give somebody the answer, it is believed that you have just cheated them. You have just cheated them. Why is it considered cheating someone when you give them the answer in coaching versus asking them the questions to help them find it themselves? Why would that be a cheat? And Jim, I am happy to share anything. They're not learning. They do not grow. Application, teach a man to fish, the cause, because they aren't learning, right? Telling ain't training. Love that. Absolutely. They develop. They develop. Has anybody ever given you the answer and you ignored it? And yeah, all the time. But if you come up with the answer, do you typically take it? And Cynthia has written, coaching is convincing someone to trust you without understanding, but the trust will, that understanding will come. That's lovely. So your job is to help them define their goals and help them achieve their goals. And it results in profound change. Now, this is hard, these three differences between teachers and trainers and coaches. Because what is easiest to do when someone has a question? What's easiest? Solve it. Give them the answer. Yeah, you need to. But they're going to be back next time. Oh, and by the way, why does it feel good just to give them the answer? What's in it for us to give them the answer? You feel smart, ego, I helped. You get to wear your cape, right? Oh, I have just solved a problem. Bruce is going, okay, you are smiting the cape. Is what I am getting here from Bruce. You affirm our importance. Oh, hey, Stephanie. You affirm our importance. That's absolutely right. You know, have any of you ever read any of the Dan and Chip Heath books? They have done Switch and Made to Stick and Upstream, and they're really interesting. They're two brothers. One of them is a Duke professor and one is a Stanford professor. And I got to chat with Dan Heath, and Dan told a story, and the story that he provided was so interesting. And he was talking about how it really is great for us to be the hero, but the real work is the work that's not being seen. And many times that's a coach. But let me be clear. Let me be very, very clear. All three of these roles are integral. They are complementary, very complementary, and they're integral to each other. People can't find the answers unless they have knowledge. And they can't build the confidence unless they have been trained in performance. And that's why I always say, learning builds muscle. Coaching moves the muscle. That's the difference between teaching, training, and coaching. I'm in the business of helping agents perform. And I know that I can teach an agent until the cows come home how to do a listing presentation. But if they're not willing to go out and prospect, it really doesn't matter. And so they have to have the confidence, and they have to have the why tapped into. We have to help people find motivation to do it. So what would happen if you stopped and thought about your role when you were helping an agent? Which one do you need to show up as? Sometimes people walk in a door and they knock and go, got a minute? And there you are to answer a question. And sometimes it's clearly a teach question. Like, what goes in that space on the offer to purchase? That's just a teach question, right? Versus of, how do I don't understand about this blank. And then you may have a training type of question, but you also may be coaching them for their confidence around the offer to purchase. So what would happen if you thought about that? So let's take each one of those and let's look at it through the lens of a teacher. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to think about what's happening in the industry right now and all of the things. Tom, are you finding me boring? He's back there yawning. Really? Really, Tom? So think about it from what's happening with real estate agents. We just had that conversation. We just had the conversation of it's changing for them, and many of them are frightened, and many of them not sure what to do. And y'all had said to me in the chat that they need education, they need different education. Think about all the agents that have come into the market over the last few years that they've never seen anything except what we've had over the last 3, 4, 5 years. They've never seen anything above 5%. Shoot, some of them never seen anything before above 3%. Think of it through that lens. As a teacher, where you're providing information, what kind of resources do you think they may need in this changing market? All right, so I see y'all were overachievers. Y'all started answering it before I even officially asked it. Good for you. Okay, so Leslie says there's a difference between teaching them what to put in the blank and a strategy needed. Yes, there is. Donna says they're going to need stats. Also, Sandra said they're going to need stats. Yeah, data to counteract the negative media. They are also going to need to know about what the media is doing, right? The media is trying to stoke conversation because that's what they do. They sell that. And give them wise scenarios. Often they need perspective. Cindy, the truth in context. Love that. Games, love interaction to create classroom experience. Yes, so they can learn better. Give them questions to find out what they know and to help them meet their needs. Absolutely. And why is this relevant to the new world? Yeah. One of the things I'm finding, because I talk to lots of agents all the time, and one of the things I'm finding is that particularly newer agents, they don't understand that they should be the resource of good information for people, for consumers, and that good information helps consumers make good decisions, and that information is at their fingertips as realtors. They have this information that they can learn and distill. And how many times in your lifetime have you been asked, how's the market? Right? A gazillion. So I see setting proper expectations. Travis must have said something interesting because I think our students need a continual reminder that if any of this were easy, they wouldn't be necessary. Love that. As a matter of fact, the more messy the real world is, the more we shine and more we make difference in our clients. I got to tell you something, I have told agents more times than I can count. If you didn't have problems, you wouldn't have a job. That's what we do. We've solved problems, right? And, diamonds are made under pressure too, by the way. It's not what you know. Good storytelling, Sandra. I love that. I am all for the great story. So let's look at it through the trainer's eye. All right, so we heard a lot when I asked it through the teacher's eye. We talked about needing stats. What about through the trainer's eye? How does that transition from teacher to trainer? Tell me a little bit about that. What's the difference in giving them stats, making sure that they have stats, and training them to use stats, building up their skill sets? Absolutely. Role playing. Have them give the stats, maybe what they answer. Yeah, okay. Application of knowledge, shadowing, role playing, role play the stats, open-ended questions, applications. Show them how successful brokers and how they're doing it. Helping them understand where to find the pertinent, they practice their presentations. Y'all know that this profession is like the only one that doesn't practice, right? I mean, really, nobody practices. And this really is the one that needs to get practiced. Practicing building scripts, practicing scripts is critical information, critical to every one of our people. And, you know, and to every agent. And yet they'll say, it doesn't sound like me. Well, of course it doesn't sound like you. That's not the point. The point is that you take a script. You may have seen somebody else's script. You may have built a script. But what happens is you look at a script and teaching them the art of discovering which one of these pieces in these words resonate with them, and use those as a jumping off point to start building their own scripts, something that sounds like them. Because I can tell you, after 29 years in this profession, if the words do not taste good, they are not going to use them. So they have to find the words that taste good when they're coming out of their mouth. And yeah, whatever you say is their script, right? But that has to sound good. And it's really, really funny. I still, to this day, if you ask me some things, I can tell you, you know, my script will come straight out of me of what I remember. Like, the script I memorized, I could say it in my sleep when I was new agents of how many houses have you sold? I was so fearful of that I built the script around it. And my script was, well, I'm relatively new in the profession, but newer agents have enthusiasm. They have current knowledge. And I have paired that with a company who has 100 years of profound experience. And those two things together is going to get you to where you want. See, I can still say that stupid script. And so, you know, they become muscle memory. And so great teaching people how to do scripts. All right. So Cynthia said, or Donna said, Cynthia, I don't have told by their listing brokers. Yeah, then we're there. The instructors are there to help them make it relevant. Internalize the dialogue, Mike says. Yes, thank you very much. It is about that. That's what a trainer does. They take the knowledge and help them internalize it so it becomes second nature. The best agents I know have profound scripts. They have crafted them, they have practiced them until they are part of them. Let's look at it through the lens of a coach. What additional resources could you provide in a changing market as a coach? So as y'all were doing that, I'm looking here. Thank you, Spencer. When you memorize a script, that provides you the ability to listen. Because when you're thinking about what you're going to say, you are not listening. You are not listening to anyone. So focusing on their scripts, goal setting. Yeah, change up their goals. That is so interesting. Anybody old enough to remember Who Moved My Cheese? Remember that little book, Who Moved My Cheese? And it's about these mice that kept going back to the same place for cheese. And one day it moved. And one of the mice kept sitting there waiting for it to show up, while the other one went, no, I got to go look for it now. It's a great book. Active listening. Yes. Yes. It will be forever relevant. It will, Donna. Let's change the language from script to dialogue. Love that. Words matter. Words do matter. Organization of a daily schedule. Oh my goodness. Yes. And let me take that just a bit further, Bill. And that is, I am not a believer in time management, but I am a believer in priority management. I can't manage time. I just can't manage it, but I can manage my priorities. And one of the things that many agents struggle with is having a great grasp of what their priorities are and building their world around that versus chasing transactions, just chasing it, right? 2 ears, one mouth. Absolutely. So there's so many things they need. And one of the things I love about coaching is that you have the ability to help them find the confidence of the changing market. One of the things I hear from agents a lot right now is, well, with the market changing, I'm not sure what to say to my sphere of influence. Okay. So they know they understand the market and what the market is doing, and they have good information, but they're hesitant to go and talk to their sphere of influence about it. There's the disconnect, right? They know the information, but they aren't willing to go into action and pick up the phone and call their sphere of influence and say, hey, it's Joe. And I'm calling because there's so much information out on the news about what's happening with the market. And I know that it is important to get great information. And so I'm just calling my favorite clients and talking to them about what's happening. What's the story behind the story? And to have that conversation. They know it, but they're not willing to pick up the phone. You think they want to know? I hear that from people all the time. You think they might want to know that? Yeah, they do want to know that. What else is important? What else is important about them calling and saying, this is what's happening with the market? So Donna says there's so many coaches who haven't sold anything. And how are they relevant to today's market? So great. I love that question. And let me say this. So Tiger Woods, I'm going to go to a Tiger Woods story. Tiger Woods has a coach. So does Metallica. So does Oprah Winfrey, right? So there's a lot of these really high performers. Do you think that his coach has won a PGA tournament in all the last 20 years? Probably not. Probably not. Is it possible that his coach is bigger and better than he is? No, probably not. But he hired a coach for what he called his realistic repeatability of his golf swing. A coach is not there for knowledge. A coach is there to have a different perspective because the person is in the weeds. They can't see their way out. Now, right now, us being in the fall, let's talk about a corn maze, right? You get in a corn maze and you're not quite sure where you are and you're bumping around and you're trying to figure your way out. The coach is sitting up on a hill and they see where you are and they can help you get out and be successful. That doesn't require knowledge of the real estate industry. None at all, as a matter of fact. Now, do I think, yes, they're observer of traits and actions? Absolutely. Is it great for them to have knowledge of the industry? Yeah, but they don't have to have it under 20. I mean, they don't have to have current knowledge under it. They need to see it from a different place than you're seeing it because you are in the weeds. So let's talk about, where do y'all go from here? Where do you go from here in this conversation? We've talked about what they need as a teacher, as a trainer, and as a coach. So let's talk about where you could go with this. And I have a couple of suggestions. All right, suggestion number 1, know your strengths. And I know that may sound ridiculous. So of course I know my strengths. Well, I don't know, I would challenge that a little bit, because some of us have not just strengths, but areas of brilliance. That's your spot. You know, I got Tom Mangum sitting back here, and Tom Mangum is brilliant at understanding the rules and the regulations of real estate. Me? No. No. I know it enough not to go to real estate prison. I do. But I am, thank you very much, Bruce. Yep. But my brilliance is at helping people get productive, to have success, to build businesses. That's my brilliance. We have different brilliance. And if he tried to live in mine, he would fail. And if I tried to live in his, he would fail. So start thinking about, really, where is my sweet spot? A book that I loved when I was really trying to home in is one called Fascinate. And it's about finding your own brand. What's your brand? And I loved that conversation. Each of you, as teachers, discover your brand and how to talk about your brand. So that's suggestion number 1. And you're right, Leslie, all of us not only have strengths, we have brilliance. Every single one of us have brilliance. And trying to live in an area that's not our brilliance, it's difficult. It's bad for us. It's hard. It makes it hard. But when you get into the flow of your brilliance, that's when it really starts jamming. The second suggestion, my second suggestion is ask people what they need. I just cannot tell you that I've seen this happen so many times. The biggest mistake educators can make is to fall in love with their own ideas. I've done it more times than I can count. I've had somebody call me and say, I'm going to write a class on selling pig farms. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm sure it's great information. And if you're selling pig farms, it would be amazing, but you're not selling it. And that's one of the things you have to think about is, does the idea bring you money? Does the idea bring you people? Right? Because as much as all of us have the heart of a salesperson, a heart of a teacher and a love for real estate agents, yeah, if we don't think about how much money, we're going to have skinny children. We need to think about the money that's going to come in from this. So I really say call, text active agents and ask, what education do they need to navigate the changing market? What are the things? Write out some questions for yourself. Start making phone calls. Find out what they're saying. Bring that together. And then build and test. Build and test. Build and test. And test and test. You know, I'm a member of a massive company. And I can tell you, every time we write a course, we interview dozens of people, and then we build and test and we build and test until we find the right pieces that help educate agents, get them into action, and get them moving and building a business and being successful. That's the pieces. Okay, so Donna has asked, do we find these newer agent students do not want to speak Would they rather text? Great question. And so I'm a little bit of an old dog. I like talking to people, but there's a lot of people who love to text. And I can tell you that many times I have gotten feedback that way. I have gone, hey, can you give me the 3 words or the 3 biggest problems you're having right now? I'm writing a course. I want to know what the 3 biggest problems you're having right now. Or, that's a great text, and they'll send it back to you real quick. So it's great. I love that. And there is a need, Jim. There is a need. There's always a need. Jim, know your audience and their preferred method. Absolutely. Also, who is your audience, right? Who is your audience? And, your audiences can be different. I learned this when I was selling real estate. You got different audiences. I was like, everybody is my audience. But I learned pretty quickly that because I never raised school age children, I didn't do that well with families that had school age children. I did a lot better with young professionals or empty nesters. That was just what I knew and what I was better with. And then here's my final question for you. After listening to this, and after I've seen a lot of you taking notes, what's the one thing that you are going to think about after you leave today about this conversation that we're having? What is the thing that you're going, yeah, I might want to do that? Can you put those in the text for me? Give me an idea of how you might proceed. What role is needed in the moment? Great. Finding my brand. I love that. I love to give them a test to discover their learning style. That's great. Become a better coach. Identify what role I am and when I am consulted. Love that. To improve, more of a trainer, finding a brand or ask or need. How am I coming across? More training. Remember that there's so much overlap. There is. And in any conversation, you may roll through all of those. You might be a trainer, you might be a teacher, and you might be a coach in one conversation, by the way. What challenges? Know their why. Everything resonates from their why. Apply what you learn. More training and connecting. Engage. Identify each role. I love all of these. Training. This presentation is nothing without action. So that is the thing I will ask you to do, is take some action from it. Just one thing. Just one action. And with that, I believe I'm 3 minutes over. And I will take a shot of that graph and I will put it into your chat before I get off Zoom. What are your questions?
Thank you so much, Joe. That was phenomenal. That was great stuff, as always.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
That was amazing, Joe. Where was this when I first needed to figure all of this out? And I love the fact that Tom was helping you practice that accept, adjust, advance with a change there. Good job there. Good job there, Tom. So thank you again, you all. It is break time. Can we give Joe a hand? Because that was amazing. Yay! I love it. I love it. I love it.